Inspiring contractors to deliver exceptional craftsmanship with proven results. This is the High Performance HVAC podcast by the National Comfort Institute.
Here we are. Another
Here we
recording.
are.
Yeah.
It's another day, and we're still alive on this planet. Yeah, yes.
Yep. I think we both had a little bit of computer issues, but that's to be expected, right?
Yeah. Technology is sometimes not always our friend, but other times it actually helps a lot. So, how's it going, guys?
It's going good. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm happy to be here. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys since AHR.
Yeah.
Officially, I guess, in person.
Officially.
Well, I didn't do much talking. I mean, you started talking. I'm like, yeah, I'm out of my league here. I need to go.
You know, I tell you, I'm going to throw him under the bus just because I love him so much. I call that the Brian Orr effect, right? When you talk to Brian so much, the gift of gab eventually finds you, and you just, I have to find myself to slow down sometimes and just tell myself mentally, like, okay, just stop talking and let somebody else talk, for goodness sake. It doesn't help that I don't like silences. So it's like, if there's a pause for more than 10 seconds, I'm going to say something. Like, it may not be something we need to talk about, but I'm going to say something.
Well, I just look back at it and I remember multiple times I'm like, okay, can you repeat that? And, in a way that, like, pretend you're talking to a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things where when you're really passionate about something, it just flows, and you just can't stop. And by the time you realize how fast you're talking, you're just like, and my wife catches me all the time. She's like, like you're talking like 1,000,000 miles an hour right now. If you could just like slow it down, that would be great. Yeah,
Well,
it's a good reminder.
You have a lot to say, though. I mean, you
Yeah.
do. And I've noticed recently I didn't even know what I was just kind of looking into, like, Substack. What is Substack? I've been seeing you like posting a lot.
I know I'm such a
recently.
trendsetter. No, I'm not at all. So I know a lot of people in marketing, people who are actually hip with the times, unlike myself. I may give a good impression, like I know all these things and I do all these things. I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's like 99% of the time. So Substack, from what I understood it as, and it was introduced to me, it's kind of like a permanent place for things to live. So when we live in a world of social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, there's always those things that you read. And then like a month later, you're talking to somebody about it. And you're like, hey, I read a great article, or I saw a great post, and start talking about it. Like, let me just go find it. And if you try to go back to social media and find something, it's literally impossible to find it. You're like, what was it called? He talked about this. No, wait, that wasn't it. That's my interpretation of it. I can't find it. And so Substack, I found, is, and that was my thing. I was researching, where can the things that I've been creating and working on live permanently? And I'm like, well, I could just put it on my website. I'm like, I'm not a great website designer. I barely got the one I have now put out there. Last thing I want to do is try to go back and reinvent the wheel. And so there's got to be a platform somewhere where you can put things to live forever, that anybody could search it. It's like a library, because it's not Facebook, it's not LinkedIn, and it's not Instagram. And so the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, Google Drive is just too clunky. And so I asked some people who are, connected to the current times, and they're like, yeah, Substack's been around forever. And that's what it's for. Like, you're supposed to go and write things and put articles, put research, whatever you want to there. And it lives there forever. And so people can go back and look through everything you've done, when you've done it, and interact with it and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how the Substack that I have came to be. I was putting this stuff out there in long form, and they got longer and longer and longer. And I had a lot of people referencing it, but they couldn't find it. And I was like, you know what? I should give it a permanent place that people can just go and search. And ta-da, Substack. So that's the way I use it. I mean, I'm sure it's got more uses than just that. But, for me, it's those articles or research stuff that I do, the thoughts that I have randomly, and then I follow it all the way through down a rabbit hole. And I'm like, you know what? People would probably find this pretty interesting. And so I write about it, and then, yeah, that's where I put it to live forever. So
is that stuff that you have living in multiple places, or is that just exclusively in Substack? I'm curious is that like HVAC school content too, or
Yeah, I've pulled from some of it to rewrite it in a more educational purpose. It's one of those things where, if you're not a writer or an editor, you don't realize how hard it is to write and find kind of like your voice in a way. Like we all talk, we all have a way that we talk. We have these mannerisms about ourselves. But when you start writing, you don't really know how you're supposed to write. Like, no, like I've been to college classes, I've done like creative writing, I've done like, all that stuff like that. And so I know like maybe the professional way you're supposed to do it, but everybody has like their own style in a way. And so with Substack, I kind of just kept going with it and just kind of to find out what my voice should sound like on paper. Cause that's the thing, like you don't really know until you start writing to find, hey, I really like this. This resonates well with me. And so um Facebook has character limits, LinkedIn has character limits, but that was the other thing. It was like if the research and the topic really deserved a full exploratory explanation of like a story woven into research, I couldn't put it there. And it was like, well, man, I really don't want to chop this stuff down and water it down so that people can get like the 3-minute excerpt, right? They need to see the whole thing. And that's where kind of the Substack came in, where it was like, Substack for all my pieces are the full length of what I needed to say from front to back to cover everything so that you can see the full picture. So you can have all the facts and make a decision yourself. And that's where, that kind of came in too as well. So it's not just like where the stuff lives, but it's the full piece, right? It's the full bit of information from front to back. It's the reference articles, it's the links, all that stuff like that. Facebook is just kind of like, hey, here's a summary of it, like the Cliff Notes. If you really think this is interesting for you and you want to know more about it, then go read the whole thing. That might be a bit of a long read. But Substack's also cool too, because there's an AI function that'll actually read the articles to you. So if you're actually like driving, you can like listen to it like a podcast. So yeah, I thought that was a cool feature. Yeah.
So, on the topic of AI, I wanted to ask you, like, this is kind of a, you could lie to me if you want, but I prefer you to be honest.
No,
I know like there's a big, like, weird, I don't know,
association.
something. Yeah. Well, no, it's like a weird thing with writers right now and AI in that. Like, how much do you actually integrate AI in your
So
articles and that?
I hate writing on paper. Well, also because my handwriting sucks. I write like a doctor, and I've never really fixed that. Maybe that's because I was homeschooled. It's a homeschooling thing. Maybe I don't know. But yes. So the AI piece, I get people who critique my stuff all the time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is totally AI," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is AI." I take what I'm talking about, what I feel in the moment, and I do voice notes, right? So like, I take my phone, I do a voice recording, 15 minutes. 20 minutes, 30 minutes of what I see, how I see it, what I feel is right, what I feel is wrong, what I'm wrestling with. And in most of those, me talking out loud to myself, I'm actually figuring it out myself for the first time. I'm working through a thought process like you would with troubleshooting, right? When you're in front of something, you're like, okay, what is this? What is that? How am I going to do this? Well, that doesn't make any sense because of this. Well, what happens if I do that? It's that process, but out loud. And I'll take those voice recordings and I'll actually run it through Claude. A friend of mine turned me on to Claude a while ago, and I'll be like, hey, can you just clean this up? Like, don't lose what it is. Don't lose all the other things below it. Just get rid of all the ums and the sputters and this and that, and just kind of clean it up if you would. And then I go through like 4 or 5 reversions of that before I feel like that's what I said. Because the other thing is like you can use AI like Gemini or ChatGPT, and then those are good sources, but you'll find they have like an underlying, like, let me give you a bunch of emojis and also like, bullet points. It's like anybody could do that, right? Like people see my stuff and they're like, oh yeah, he just went to AI and was like, AI, write me an article about, manufacturers gatekeeping information. And it's like, okay, here you go. Blah, 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 blah. And like, no, that's not it. It's me talking through my experiences, what I've seen, what I've gone through. I redact the names, I redact the brands because I think that's important. This isn't like a witch hunt. This is about focusing on the problem as a whole. And it just helps me work through my thought process. I've got ADHD brain. So it's like, squirrel. And then it's like, well, I'm looking at this and then I'll get a phone call. And so trying to get that sorted out, it's like straightening spaghetti noodles. And it's one thing that I've learned with AI is that it's really good at straightening spaghetti noodles. So like, you get all these thoughts and random stuff, and it's really good at just kind of focusing through it. You can say, no, that's not in this. No, I don't know where you got that from. That's not correct. And then, I get a version that looks like it does on Substack. And so if I'm a poser, I'm okay with that. If I look like a fraud, I'm also okay with that. A lot of these things are just my experiences in the industry, put in a way that people can easily read it and understand it. And that's the whole purpose of it. Do I use AI? Yes, of course I use AI. I use it in a lot of things in my workflow as well at work. It's a tool, no different than a screwdriver or multimeter. Am I using it to generate things that I've never lived or experienced? Absolutely not.
Hmm.
And that comes out in the work that I do. Like there's a lot of things you can't experience through AI. I mean, it would have to go and reference other people's experiences out there that look like that. And that's the part that I think people have a lot of distaste for AI, is because a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff manufactures expertise, when really, if you read it and you look at it, if you know about that stuff, you're like, that's not right at all. Like that's completely incorrect, because AI uses references on the internet. And if the internet is not correct, it's going to reference it like it's a fact.
Yeah.
And that's why researching is really important, to just have it cite the sources and stuff like that. When I'm the source, you don't really need to cite a whole lot. It's just, going through and making sure that it got it right, what I was trying to say.
Nice. You did mention in there your article on gatekeeping,
Yeah.
and that's interesting. I wanted to dive into that some for sure.
Yeah.
It I think we've all seen it, and in years past, being an HVAC technician for years, I know, Casey, you're on the same boat as me.
Oh, yeah.
You've kind of been out of the field and teaching a little bit longer, but um, it was for a long time, it was mostly easy to find stuff. I just had this conversation actually with somebody yesterday, how I love technology. I love, VRV. I think it's super cool. I don't understand it nearly on a level that you do. I love inverters. I'm usually one of the first ones when something comes out to try it. Like I
Yeah.
want to dive right into it. But
No, I
that
know everything
being
about it.
said,
Yeah.
there is something to be said about simplicity,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if something breaks on a 13 or 14 SEER system with capacitors and contactors, or a basic furnace, like, even going back to it, I'm not promoting, natural draft, but like a pilot furnace and that, like, usually you could cobble something together in a
Sure.
matter of minutes to get something back up and running again.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Now that everything is becoming more and more, technological advanced or whatever, how,
Proprietary.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, like, do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like you were saying, it was easier to get access to information. I think a lot of these technologies that were new to the market, they came with a lot of information in some aspects. Some of that stuff we didn't know we needed at the time. We were just kind of winging it, if you will. We were kind of learning as we went. We've gotten to a point now, I think, in our industry where VRF technology as a whole, we all kind of understand what it's doing and how to apply it and how not to apply it. And so the things that we're kind of looking for now is just, well, one, the things we've come to expect, right? Service manual, application notes, or application, presentation, or guidelines, right? And you say, well, we don't really need the application stuff. I say, well, I have to need the engineering manuals at least to tell me, capacity, ranges at different temperatures, and all the other things that go along with designing a system correctly. um, you know, and that has to be accurate, which we found is not the case in some things. But so service manual, engineering manual, installation manual, operation manual, those are the basics, right? Most every piece of equipment should have a public facing version of that, not behind a paywall, not behind some kind of certificate that you have to go and get a class and take a class and get that certification to then get an account on their website to then get access to that information. That's overkill. The only way that I think that something like that would be okay is if there was a class offered in every city across the US, at least once a week, which is not going to happen. That's all online courses, right? And at that point, it's like, well, how effective is online learning? And it's like, it's not really. It's just, it's a legal thing where you're just trying to check the box to say, yeah, we told them not to do that, and they did it anyways. Those are the basics, right? You should have those in the market that you're trying to sell product in for support. Remember that we're not just asking for stuff just to ask for stuff. It's like, well, what do you need it for? And it's like, well, you're putting this in my market and my client maybe gets it from me and I install it, or I'm getting a client that already has it. I have to support the product. I have to fix it. I need to know what's wrong with it. I need to make sure it's been designed correctly and installed correctly. Like, I need something to reference for that. I can't just make it up out of thin air. This isn't, like you said, a gas furnace that I've seen for 30 years. This is something newer. And so give me the basics so I can support the product in the field. That's the first ask for any manufacturer in the US. And people would ask probably for this worldwide in other countries too. It's just kind of like basic of care, if you will. And then there's the deeper layer of, Well, when every time a new piece of equipment comes out, it does something new, right? Otherwise, why would we have it? It's like iPhones, right? There's always that extra 2 or 3 features that they weren't there last year. With new equipment that comes out for different manufacturers, it does something different. Okay, so what separates that from what it was before? Like, are the line sets getting longer? Can we go further? Does it do more capacity? Right? Does it have all these extra bells and whistles? Are you documenting that? Like, are you giving me that information as to the things I can't do now with this new product that we could do with the old product? Like, what's the differences here? And that's that kind of education piece on the other side of, if you've been in this market for a long time, like some of these big manufacturers have, are we educating, contractors and your end users that are going to be working on this equipment, installing this equipment, living with this equipment? That's the biggest thing, living with it. Are we giving them that information so that they can work on it, effectively and push that back behind a class? Okay, maybe, but does your class even cover it, or is it a sales presentation? That's the other thing. Like, we've seen it happen time and time again, where to limit liability in a lot of these rooms, we're going to give you the bare minimum, and we're going to just cite the installation manual because it's documented. And I get that, sure, but like, let's be honest with the real world applications here. Are we failing our market because the contractors that are going through these classes are getting the bare minimum of sales presentations? Like, do they leave knowing enough about the stuff? I mean, you've been to the classes, Adam. I'm certified to teach most of the classes. It's a bigger issue in our industry, but the gatekeeping side of things is just, we've been in this industry for long enough, VRF as a whole, speaking as a product. If I was VRF, been in this market long enough, I think we're at a point now where, there's no reason not to have these things with AI as prevalent as it is. With as long as this technology has been here, why are we still struggling with the basics? I can't get those 4 things from every manufacturer that's in our market right now selling a product consistently. It's always different. It's a different flavor. It's on a different website. It requires a login. It requires a class. It requires me to know somebody who knows somebody through my rep or distributor who's selling it.
And let me throw out there, this is not just like a VRF thing. This is
Sure.
like goes across the board. We were Chris Hughes and I did a presentation not last year. I don't think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago at the symposium, Brian's HVAC symposium. And it was all about trying to find all the information on inverters. And, inverters are a big thing, trying to figure out how to commission them, how to put them in test mode, how to understand when they're in test mode.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, if anyone has done design work, that performance data that you have to look for when you're trying to perform a manual S, which, if you guys don't know, manual S is after you do manual J. It's basically like, what size equipment am I allowed to put in based on the performance data of that equipment? Well, a lot of the manufacturers, it is basically impossible to find unless you're like a certified dealer. So it's like, what do you do?
Wing it, and you hope for the best. I mean, that's what everybody's doing. Like, I'll be the person to say it. I mean, that's the thing that I've learned. I will pay the price for saying the things that nobody else wants to say. That's where I'm at right now in my career. I'll say the things that nobody wants to say, and that's what people are doing. They're winging it because they don't have access to it. And it's like, well, like, I get we're trying to reduce, tech support phone calls. We're trying to reduce, all these problems that contractors who are untrained are causing. But the more we put up these walls in our industry to make it harder for those people to get access, they're going to just find it anyways. They're going to buy their equipment off Amazon. They're going to go, buy it from somebody else who sells it. They're going to get their hands on the product. That's not the issue. The issue is, like, this is a problem. We know there's still going to be bad contractors out there, but if you just made the information accessible from a Google search, watch out. Like, I know that's a big thing. Google's been around for freaking ever. You just make it easy for people to get the information, then they will figure it out. That you have to have faith that the contractor is going to know enough, and the right person's eventually going to find them. Like, the bad contractors are eventually going to get fired, or they're going to walk away, or they're going to ghost their client, or they're never going to come back. The good ones who are trying to work on it are hitting the same wall that you built for those people. There is no delineation between the two. And as soon as you leave it up to somebody with a corporate salary who has to evaluate who gets access and who doesn't, you're putting it in a human's hands to, if they're having a bad day, then they're going to deny everybody. If they're having a good day, then people even who shouldn't get access. And so, like, there's this, layers that people are building in and creating that don't need to be there. Like, let's go back to the trust factor. Like, and I'll talk to them about it directly. Mitsubishi, it leads the charge in this. They just give all the information out. Now, not all of it. There's still some secret stuff that's, tucked away. But like, again, they've been public facing about a lot of things, and they weren't like that when they came to the market. And then I wrote a piece about that called, nobody wants to hold the hot potato. And it's exactly that. It's when they came here, they didn't share that information, but when they trusted the contractor after them asking for it enough, and they gave out all the information, they found such a positive impact of it, not going the way that maybe everybody thinks that it does. But you're seeing some of these large manufacturers go the opposite direction, where they're hiding more information, maybe not on purpose, but they're putting it behind these contractor programs and all these other things that they're building in that are tied to sales directly. And it's like, why do we have to do that? Like, really, are we saving a ton of money for the manufacturer and all the calls they're going to get? No, probably not. If anything, we're just, making your contractor base mad, right? Like, I'll just go sell a different product at this point, right? And I don't want to be like that, because I like your product and I enjoy your product and I'm very experienced in your product, but I can't make a recommendation on it anymore if you're going to do these things without, thinking about how it affects everybody in the industry as a whole. And I get, like, maybe your revenue's down, maybe you didn't hit your projections like last year, like you were supposed to, or 5 years ago, like you projected you were going to. That's not our fault in the field. Like, why do we also have to pay the price at the end of the day? Because that's who it is. It's myself and the customer. The customer doesn't get the solution. They get no air conditioning because of the brand they have. I don't make my customer happy, and I maybe I look like an idiot, and that's okay. It happens a lot. Because I can't fix it, because I don't know how to fix it. I don't have the information to fix it. And so you get two people who are really upset about it, who are just, the solution now is, well, I don't have this problem with this brand. This is who I recommend you go through. And maybe the equipment is inferior. Maybe it's not as efficient, and maybe it's a little bit more expensive. But the other option is what? It doesn't run.
Mhm.
I'm not going to choose that. Like, you're literally forcing me to go this direction because the other alternative is I don't have equipment that works. And I'm in this spot right now with a current problem as a whole, where we're having problems sourcing 410A parts right now. And a lot of these companies' policies say that if you can't get a part within 3 weeks, we'll give you a new unit. Well, there are no new 410A units. So now I don't have units, and I don't have replacement parts. And so what do I tell the client? I'm sorry, the unit you've had for 6 years, we now have to replace everything with R32. That's a solution? You know what I mean?
I would
And so,
think there's got to be some kind of legality thing to that, wouldn't you think? Like, doesn't auto manufacturers, you have to continue producing the parts for a certain amount of time for
well, they
warranty
do, and
customers?
it's not like they've stopped producing them. It's like a poor planning thing. We've all experienced the pains of shifting refrigerants mid go here, right? Where there was this huge quick shift. I mean, look how long it took R22 to phase out to 410A. It was like, what, like 20 years? It was a long time.
It was a while.
And we went from 410A to R32 like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like you went to sleep and you woke up the next day, and now everything's R32 and R454B. And it's like, whoa, what happened there? And because of that poor planning, most likely, we're now here where they didn't stop manufacturing the parts. They just don't have them in hand. Like, they don't exist right now. And the lead time to get them is getting longer and longer and longer. And so we're going to be in for a lot of pain here in the next 6 months, as this only gets worse until if someone decides to expedite this stuff. And so, again, it's pain contractors have to endure to get to the solution of helping the client on a piece of equipment they sold to them or didn't
Right.
sell to them. They have to support now. So,
Yeah, and it's not just the contractor. I mean, obviously, it's going to really irritate somebody, especially with the price of equipment.
yeah.
Like, equipment is really expensive nowadays. Everything has just gone up in price crazy. And I saw that all starting at COVID. So, 5-6 years ago, at the peak of that, the pricing increase and all that, when it was like, hey, we were getting a 10% price increase every 2 or 3 months. Like, you know what? Now we got to replace your equipment again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we could sit here and be like, I've been doing this for 20 years and they don't build them like they used to. But at the end of the day, you're right though. Like we're paying for whatever reason, economic related, manufacturing related, copper's harder to source, steel's harder to source, sure, whatever it is that's causing the price to drive up. We could speculate all day long. It doesn't change the fact that it still needs to run in the field. We sold them whatever it costs, higher or not, a product that's supposed to work. And if it's still in the warranty period and we have issues with parts, components, failures, now, we're having to endure the pain of not being able to get them. And we lived through that in COVID, right? The whole like PCB shortages and the VFD drive shortages where they just couldn't get what was it? Something to do with the way they manufacture the chips for the drives. They couldn't get the materials inside of that. And so they would like, I don't know, VFD drives at one point were like 44 weeks out or something like that to get drive replacements. And so it feels like we're getting there now with our Fortinet parts, unfortunately, with some manufacturers. And so not to be all doom and gloom here.
So do you think contractors are going to start, instead of trying to warranty parts out like a condenser coil, evaporator coil, whatever it is? I know certain things you need to actually have the OEM part. Do you think they're going to do you think people are going to try to repair these parts that should potentially, on a normal situation be replaced?
I think those who feel confident enough in doing it will do it. I think those who understand that their name and their reputation is on the line, business owners, people who feel responsible for maintaining that client relationship, they're going to do whatever they can to make it work. And I've fixed a lot of coils the way you're not supposed to fix them, just to get people what they needed through the time that they needed. And so, yeah, I think a lot of people are going to, but I think also other people are going to use this as an opportunity to sell new equipment. It's just unfortunate. They're going to give them no other option. It's like that whole outfit of like, your capacitor went bad, you need a new system. And it's like, sure. If that's the angle there. But again, what choice do they have? If they don't have enough skill in repairing something like aluminum coils, right? Not a lot of people are confident in those abilities. And so they may not feel like they have any other choice, and that they just, push that pain on the client.
Well, this kind of goes back to my original point where, simplicity is kind of a nice thing because you could a lot of times get things going. And I know we were talking about VRV, VRF, but like even just basic, regular inverters, whatever it is, but the more complex the system, even a 2-stage condenser or heat pump, you have a proprietary board. You could probably rig something up, but like, the parts are not as easy to get. Like a lot of times the distributors don't stock all this stuff,
Well,
so
and that's if your distributor is confident enough in ordering the parts correctly. So people who don't sell a lot of the equipment, and let's say you go through your distributor and you buy, I don't know, let's say 100 units that year. Maybe it's 5 years down the road, and it's one of those things where the person who took that order and was strong in that equipment and ordering parts and navigating that system left, because it happens a lot. And so you get someone new that just has no idea how to use that system or find the part numbers or find the correct parts or order the right parts. And so, and I've seen this happen to us a couple of times where I've seen it happen a lot throughout my career where you order one thing and the wrong thing comes in. And you're like, oh man, this client has been waiting for this. We need the right one. What is it? Okay, it's this one. And then the same thing you ordered the first time that was incorrect, you get it a second time. And you're like, what is going on right now? Like you overnighted this. It's still the wrong thing. This is what I need. Are you sure? I will call the manufacturer myself if you need me to. No. We're sure. And then the third time you finally get the part to get the issue resolved. And so there's still those pain points too, as a whole with dealing with distributors and even directly to manufacturer for people who just aren't that, exposed or experienced in something like this. And so, but that's not just VRF. That's just VRF because it's specialty, but
Well, tying this back to your Substack article on gatekeeping in that, imagine like, all right, so on the service side, somebody's trying to fix something and you have to go through the pain of ordering something that is back ordered for weeks or months. And you order something based on the knowledge that you have on that equipment. Imagine ordering the wrong part.
Yeah. No, 100%. And imagine going out and installing the wrong part in front of the client, promising them air conditioning that day because you don't know any better and you're confident that this is going to do it. Tech support told you that it was going to fix the problem. So you're confident in their abilities from the manufacturer. They wear the badge. They get paychecks from that manufacturer. So why would they be wrong? And then finding out that it's the wrong board and it's some error code that says, yeah, that is the wrong board. Or it doesn't fix the issue anyways, because the board they sent you is for the indoor when you really need one for the outdoor. And so, I mean, there's just so many layers to this that give this technology a bad name. I mean, I can name probably 15 school systems throughout the US that have banned VRF technology because of the exact situation that we described.
Wow.
Because they wasn't installed the best, misapplied, bunch of failures, wrong parts, getting parts was difficult. And I'm sure one of those things where when you're the person in the middle of this, it is very easy, and no one would know any better, to just throw the manufacturer under the bus. They ordered it wrong. They don't make it anymore. Oh, they're telling me that they don't know what they're doing. They told me it was bad. And like, who else is going to challenge that? Are you going to call the manufacturer and talk to one of the 77,000 employees and then find the right person that told you that? No, of course you're not. So it's like that cop out. And it's like, well, yeah, we really don't like this brand. And it's like, well, why don't they like the brand? Well, it was installed incorrectly. It wasn't commissioned correctly. And then the contractor threw them under the bus the entire time they were trying to make repairs. And so, yeah, I don't blame them for ripping out the equipment. I would do the same thing in the same situation. And so, there's a lot of things here to peel back and talk about. It's not just one person or one area. This is happening across the country. This is happening in other countries. Like North America isn't like unique. It's just North America is the hottest market right now for VRF in the world, right? And that's the fact. You look at different markets and and I've been doing a lot of market strategy, like, looking at all the different numbers and how things have changed over the past 15 years and what that looks like. And it's crazy to see that we are the hotspot now, and the technology's been here for a while, but we are now the main focus for almost every global manufacturer on the planet. And when your market becomes the focus, a lot of things happen. Programs get created, things shift drastically, stuff gets pushed into the market that wasn't there before. And so these problems that we're talking about that may have been small 5-10 years ago are going to get extremely painful and get very big quickly because of these focus points, right? Because no one's fixing it. They're just kind of chasing that revenue growth, the profit margins that they see, the projections that they have, the same market analysis that I might do without an MBA or a doctorate or any kind of formal education. They're doing it from the education side of where they do this for a living across, global markets. And so we are now under the spotlight, and we have been for some of these big manufacturers for about 10 years. But now everybody is in on the secret. Like they can't hide it anymore. This is where it's at.
And I feel like installing it and designing it is one thing. And probably a lot of commercial buildings, you have an engineer who's familiar with VRV or VRF and that, but like, and installing it, trying to figure out how to do it. You might take a class that gets you to a point where you're comfortable enough actually putting the equipment in and commissioning it. And maybe you're not comfortable enough commissioning it. You need somebody else to help you out with that. But like, once you get to that point, do you think we're ready to actually service these things and work on them? Like a whole, the country as a whole?
Service is a mindset. That's the generalist of it, right? Servicing anything that you've never serviced before is a mindset. Now you could say, well, you need the certifications, you need the qualifications. I got a call from somebody yesterday that I've known for a while, and I don't talk to him very often, but he was working on a Mitsubishi split system. And you're like, okay, he's working on a mini split. No, this was like 12 outdoor units and 16 to 18 EEV kits on probably what was close to a 120 ton air handler, where it was interlaced coils. And this was the main cooling and heating system for the building. And he's never been to a Mitsubishi class, 2, has never used their service tool, and 3, is not that familiar with VRF. And so anybody could easily just looked at him and said, get off that roof. You have no business touching the equipment. However, he is a very technically sound guy. He's probably one of the smartest technicians, I've come across in a while. And he is used to doing everything else. He's certified in other VRF manufacturers. He's done chilled water. He's done all these other things, hydronics. Troubleshooting complex things is not new to him. And he has the capabilities. He just doesn't have what the manufacturer would consider the qualifications to do the work. And it only took me, 20, 30 minutes of talking to him on the phone to get him, pointed in the right direction of what he needed to look at and what the issue actually was. And so, you're telling me, well, do you have to go to the install class to service the equipment? You don't have to take any classes to service the equipment. There's a lot of brands that we service here at Kalos that I have never seen before working here at Kalos, whether it's Gree, whether it's Hitachi. All I have is the service tool that I found a way to buy and get, and then the manuals that are readily available that I can find. And if I can, I know enough people maybe to get in the right direction. And so, yeah, I think that as a market, it's a mindset. And so, do you feel qualified to do it? You could tell yourself no because you don't have the certifications, you haven't been to the classes. But really, you just have to be okay to fail. You have to be willing to jump into it knowing that it's just air conditioning equipment and that there are complexities. There may be a service tool that you require, but you can get those things. You can find those things. You can go to the right places or ask the right people. I mean, you can message me, email me, and I'll put you in the right direction and connect you with the right people. And so, is everybody qualified? I mean, I can't really speak to that, but if we're talking about is our market ready for service? Well, like it or not, we have to be. It's already here and it's been here for a long time and it's only getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And as you know, we're getting rid of gas furnaces, right? The decarbonization, electrification movement, we're going with low ambient heat pumps. So low ambient heat pumps are always going to be an inverter system because of the way that they're designed, the technology behind it. They just perform really well in low ambience. And so, like it or not, it's the direction we're all going in. And so, whether you want to go and take a class to get your confidence level up high enough to do it, or whether you're okay with just jumping in the deep end and trying to swim, you got to be ready. It's not really a question of if you are. It's are you going to be today? Are you going to be tomorrow? How long are you going to wait and kick this can down the road before you realize you have to? That's kind of where we're at, in my opinion.
Right. And it's funny because I was just thinking I have a question to ask you, and I feel like I relate. Like I'm like, hey, well, us contractors, although I'm not really a contractor anymore, you know what I mean? But like, I still feel like I'm on that side of the table.
I know. I still talk like I work for a manufacturer, and it's like, no, I'm a contractor. Sorry,
but like,
let me dumb it down. I'm a contractor.
Right. Yeah. So like, what do we do? Like, what's the solution to the knowledge gap in that? Like, what do you think what should they do to help us out? What's the next step?
Oh, it would be super easy from the chair that I'm sitting in to say, incur all the costs, do all the work, make the system better. How dare you? But that's not a solution. That doesn't bring anybody to the table. This is saying, here's the problem and here's how I see it from my angle. How do you see it from your angle? Because there's similarities and compromise to be had in anything like this. And so, you may see things from one way, and maybe your problem is you need to reduce your overhead because the market isn't doing what you thought it would. And I 100% understand that. You have a business model that you have to keep up with, that you have shareholders that are looking for results. I get that. You're running a business. We're both running a business. We have that similarity. We have that thing in common, right? Different sizes maybe, but business is business. We're still trying to make money here in the market. Here's the way we see the problems and here's how they affect us as a whole, right? Here's the problems that maybe you see from your side and the things that you want to see change. There's going to be similarities in between those. There's going to be things where we're really far apart, but there's also going to be things that we're really close together on. And it's just making sure that these manufacturers are willing to have these conversations with the right people. It's not the people who, create the education books. It's not the people who, host these conferences. Some of them are great, like NCIs. It's more so about connecting with the people who have been in it long enough and see the problem clear enough to give you that information. I'm not looking for payment or sponsorship or any of that stuff. No, I just want to see things get better for all of us because I'm living in this world right now and I have been for the past 3 years. And there's a lot of things that are still wrong that we still have problems with. And it's just having the ability to have a manufacturer step back and realize that they don't know everything about our market. And they don't know everything about us and what we're dealing with. They can talk to a mechanical contractor that buys a lot of their product in New York or maybe in Houston or markets that are really hot right now. And that's their viewpoint of their market. Have you talked to anybody in Florida? Have you talked to anybody where you're struggling to get a market hold in, where you're actually losing market share in? Because those markets exist. Who are you talking in those markets and the pain points that they're having? Those are the things that it's voice of the customer, if you will. Sure, talk to your reps, talk to your distributors, but they're not the ones out in the field installing the equipment. They're just the ones selling it. And maybe that's the thing. Maybe because I don't move enough boxes, maybe because I don't sell enough to really get on anybody's radar to say, hey, this is what I want. I don't want anything. I just want to see things get better for everybody. I'm not looking for, some kind of special treatment here. Here are the problems that I see. Let's do something about it. Either you go fix them by yourself, in your own time, or let's have a conversation of trying to make this better for everybody and put something together that actually works for everybody. Because I think that exists in a way. Or we just keep running around, blind, trying to make things work. You keep messing up the things that I'm doing, and I'll keep trying to fix them to make everybody happy, and we'll just keep going down this road until I finally just have enough of it and just go with somebody else. Do something else with another manufacturer that has the openness to sit down and say, how can we make this better? How can we make this easier? I mean, tool manufacturers do it, right? Why does our product suck? Please tell us why our product sucks. Why can't we be more open about that? Like, again, I want to provide solutions to the end user, and I want to make them happy, and I want to sell equipment to them because they need the solutions. Make it easier for me to do that by also helping me support that when it has a problem, when it doesn't go the way it's supposed to in a perfect world. Nothing is designed or works in a vacuum. So let's stop pretending like that's how this works. Like, says who, right? Who decided to set all these tech supports up the way they do? Is there some kind of research paper that was done 100 years ago that says this is the psychology of tech support?
Yeah.
I haven't found it. I've looked. Is there some kind of like international code law that says this is how tech support should work? No, there isn't. These manufacturers modeled a system that either they took from another market or they created themselves from someone who worked at the company at the time and had a brilliant idea. But when do we go back to the drawing board and say this freaking sucks? Let's do better. We can do better. Because those people exist out in the industry, and I've written articles about this where it's like, why do we have to push policy changes when your contractor base is probably your biggest resource that nobody's utilizing? Like the people who are the sharpest in the industry own their own business for the most part. The people who are like the best at troubleshooting, like the sharpest minds I've ever met, work either for themselves or they work in a smaller company. They work for a mechanical contractor or they work for a small rep. They don't work for manufacturers because there's a whole reason for that. And we can go on about that too as well, but they don't work there. And there are a few people that do work there. I'm not saying that they can't, but that is a huge talent pool compared to what's actually currently at the manufacturer. And so why aren't they utilizing it? Like, why aren't they referencing it? And so those are my questions. Like, I don't have the answers. I'm not acting like I have this figured out. I'm just a guy who sees it the way I see it, and I'd like to know why. I want someone to help explain this to me, because I haven't found the answer yet.
So let me ask you this: you are actually trying to help people. You've recently, which I didn't realize until, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, that you actually started your own company. I thought you were just working for Kalos and helping out HVAC school and that, but you have your own company.
Yeah, so I've had a consulting firm for probably, I don't know, 5 years now. It started off as just helping people. So the word consulting is very loose here. I was just somebody that helped people, and it was just my name, right? It's just my name, Roman Baugh, right? That's my name. It's my YouTube channel. It's there's no like.
So how does it work out? Like, is it like an official, like somebody's got to submit a form to you, or like, hey, you got to give them a quote, or
no, they just find me, and if I can help, and so if it's a technician, if it's somebody who just needs a manual, if it's someone who just needs a software for some manufacturer, I just give it to them. Like, there's no charge. I'm not looking to make money off people's problems. Like, that's the thing I'm not doing. I don't believe in that. That's not right. You just need information, and if I have it, I'm going to help you. If I can point you in the right direction, I'm going to point you in the right direction. It's where my consulting stuff comes in, is where you have these larger manufacturers, where you have these larger corporate companies that are looking for answers and need someone to actually go through and peel everything back and look at everything from a 10,000-foot view, look at the submittals, look at the design, engineering paperwork, look at the operational data of the equipment, look at the changes that have been made over the years, and find the problem in the noise. That's what I charge for. That's my consulting business. And so from that, it's just my name. I'm currently working with some manufacturers, on retainer right now to fix problems that they have that they know need to be resolved and help create things for troubleshooting ease in the field. And so changing things in the right direction. But it just got to the point where it was just so much demand for it that I was like, okay, I got to get my name out from under this and put a brand on it. And that's where VRF Tech came from. And so it was actually a recommendation from Craig. Craig was like, I was like, man, I really need to do something about this. And he's like, how about this name? And how about that name? And so he was, bouncing ideas off me, and he mentioned VRF Tech. And I was like, I don't know, it just seems too simple. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I think it's perfect. And so, I mean, he even had his team create the logo for me. So I'm super grateful for him.
Wow.
And
Very
so
cool.
again, it's these people in the industry that it's the brands behind me here. HVAC School, there's Ty's brand, and then there's Craig's band over here. Those are the people that have been like huge mentors of mine, and they don't ask for anything in return. They don't want to own anything that I'm doing. They don't want to own me. They're just encouraging me, and they're giving me the resources I need to grow. And so it is something I do on the side. It's not a full-time business of mine. My love and passion and my work is here at Kalos with the team. I love being involved in the team that we have here and the stuff that we're doing. And HVAC School is a passion project that's turned into, a full-time thing that I do for fun as well. I'm not an employee of HVAC School, although it may look like it with all the content that I put out there. It's just a natural thing that comes from the job that I do here at Kalos. And so, yes, VRF Tech LLC is officially founded as of a month ago, and it is now an official entity. My website is vrftechtraining.com. I also snagged up.org just for the fun of it. But and I built the website myself. And so it's like all these things, like I'm trying to keep everything as low cost as possible so I can help as many people as possible. Because that's the point, right? If manufacturers want to put up walls and gatekeep information, I'm just going to go to the people inside of their walls that are already giving me that information and give it out for free without anybody knowing about it. Like people can build walls all day long, and I'm going to be in the background digging tunnels underneath them, and giving people the information, because I think that's the important thing here. People just want to solve the problem. And so, when you stonewall that or try to, I don't know, own that process, or try to, I've seen it go sideways so many times where it's this problem that we have in our industry where manufacturers are buying rep firms, they're buying distributors, they're buying, local service companies. And now the people that they were selling equipment to, they're in direct competition with them. And so a lot of mechanical contractors are afraid to reach out to their rep to get support because they're afraid the rep might steal their client. And some people don't do that because it's bad business practice, but it is happening in our industry, where I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it isn't. And it's happened to me a few times where I've had to slap some hands, and draw some lines in the sand. And so people are not reaching out because they're afraid of that. And so who do they turn to? They don't have anybody to turn to now. They can try to go through the manufacturer, but that might be a 3-month email chain before they get what they actually need. And so I try to be that person that can get them whatever they need, whenever I can. If that's at midnight, if that's at 2 a.m., if that's on the weekend, I just try to do the best I can with what I have. And it's gotten to the point now where I started a business based upon it.
So do you think you have, I guess, is there any risk to you in this, like legal risk, do you think? Like, do you think any of the manufacturers can potentially come after you for
Sure, I'm sure they
spilling the
could.
beans,
I'm
letting
sure
out
they
the
could. Yeah. I'm not releasing anything that's not public facing or proprietary. I'm not releasing any confidential documents or anything like that. I'm usually pointing people in the right direction because, again, if I don't do it every day, I may not have the most up-to-date software. But I know somebody who's willing to share it, who works for the manufacturer. And so it's like, it's one of those things where the manufacturer is not going to openly say that we don't distribute this, because that would look like they're holding back information.
Yeah.
So they would, if they're going to come after me for something like that, I mean, and they could, sure, I could get a cease and desist tomorrow to stop talking about them on social media. It would be horrible publicity for them and PR. But it's also one of those things where it's like, I don't want to do this. So fix your problems so I don't have to do this. That's the thing. Like I'm not getting anything out of this. Like nobody's paying me to give them service manuals. And I'm not charging anybody for that. And so, I'm not doing this to spite anybody. I'm not doing this to go after anybody. I'm not doing this to call anybody out. I'm doing this because there's a need. And if nobody's going to fill it, why not myself? Why not me? Why do I have to push this to somebody else? I've done that a lot in my career. And I just kind of got to the point where it was like, if it was me on the other side asking for information, and I could give it to that person, why not? Like, it takes me 5 minutes to send an email. It takes me 2 seconds to respond to a Facebook message. It takes me maybe 3 days to get the right thing to the right person over time. And I mean, and to me, if I can make those small, subtle changes and differences and help somebody, then I think it's worth it to me. And if that results in me getting sued or a cease and desist from a manufacturer, it is what it is at this point, right? I just then I'll stop. I guess I'll have to. But I guess that also might tell you that there's a bigger problem here if they're willing to go that far to stop somebody from just trying to help people. It'd be like shutting down a non-for-profit. Uh, for what?
Right. I mean, I could see it going either way. I don't know. After that, the session we did at Symposium, myself and Chris Hughes, there was somebody from one of the manufacturers that came up to us and said, "This is not right. You shouldn't be giving this information away." And I'm like, that makes me want to do it even more.
Well, oh yeah, you think that you don't want me to see me distribute this or watch this, and I get that feeling at times. It's not productive, right? At the end of the day, nobody wins when there's a smear campaign. Nobody wins when you call out big brands. I've been intentional in not naming people for a reason, especially here. It doesn't benefit anybody by slinging mud. The solution here is coming together and working together to fix the problem.
Yep.
And that's the thing too, is like, don't force anybody into a corner, where you give them no other option but to do that. We're not there, and I don't think we'll get there. But it's also one of those things where, we all just want kind of the same thing. I want to sell your product. I want to support your product. You want me to sell your product. You also want me to support your product.
We have to know how to work on them, though. We have to know how they work.
I mean, whether you tell me that or I reverse engineer it, I mean, let's just take the high road here and just give out some information. Like, I don't know. And maybe it's one-sided. Of course it is. I'm biased. I've lived the life of the manufacturer. I've worked as the business owner. I've owned my own business for 6 years. Before that, I've done the service manager. I've done the service technician. Now I'm service tech support, if you will, in a way, for Kalos, as well as business development and, jumping into anything that we don't understand right now. And so I'm not saying that my ideas are perfect. I'm not saying that my opinions are well thought out. And I'm sure there's a lot of problems with the things that I say. But at the end of the day, we all kind of want the same thing. I hope we want the same thing. That's the other thing. I want to help our clients. I want to help people. I want this to get better. That may not be the main focus of a lot of other people. Maybe they just want to make more money. They want to, get that bonus at the end of the year. Maybe they just want to hold their job for another 10 years. That their focus is maybe not aligned with the one that I have. I'm not sponsored by any manufacturers. I'm not sponsored by any tool manufacturers. I'm not sponsored by any entities. I have kept it very clear and clean for that exact reason. What I'm saying is my own opinions. Like, what I'm talking about is my own opinions. They're not even Kalos's. I mean, I'm sure they would back me up if I needed to, but it's one of those things where, I'm trying to do the best I can with what I have without making it look biased or, easy to write me off with what I'm doing. I'm trying to do it as best as I can with my abilities to just, take away the bias if you can, to just show the facts. This isn't about Roman or my things that I'm building. It's just about helping people. So why can't we just get back to that?
I think, man, that's such a good place to end it. Because I think that's such a great point. It's like, if everyone focused on helping people, I mean, wouldn't we be like, not just the industries in general, but like the world? You know what I mean? And I think that's a lot of our mentors. We share the same mentors, Roman.
Yeah.
And
We do.
Same thing with me and Casey, right? That's kind of like the principle that they live behind, right?
And yeah,
It's
and they do it. Everything they do. I would say that and I try not to give Brian too many compliments. I don't want to go to his head. We'd have to widen the doors at the office so you could fit in. But no, that's it. Like, I had never met a more generous person than Brian in his attitude and how he carries himself and what he does. He's very intentional with his words, and the things that he's done and the things that he's built. And you could look at him and you could easily say, he did it all for his ego, so he could be the man with the power. But if you look at him and you really get to know him and what he's doing and how he operates, he plants seeds and they grow. He's created a community around that ideal in itself. Why not just help people? Why can't we do free education? Why can't we give a lot of these things away for free that we're doing? Why do we have to monetize it? We don't.
Mm.
Why do we have to sell something? Well, we don't. I mean, sure, we do a Kalos to keep the lights on, and that serves a purpose. It's a business. But there's a lot of things where we don't have to compromise. And in those compromises, we ensure that we hold our integrity of all things. That's the one thing that I have learned is that I can't compromise my values. I won't do it. Not for a paycheck, not for a dollar amount, not for $2 million, $10 million. I don't want it. At the end of the day, someone has to hold the line somewhere and stick up for the guys who don't have a voice. People ask me, well, why do you do this? You're just doing it to go after manufacturers and get the spotlight. And it's like, I'm not selling anything. Like, I don't sell any products, I don't sell any subscriptions, I don't sell anything. I got nothing to sell here, bud. So that holds no facts here. My consulting services are around solving real world problems. That's a service. A lot of people offer that. This comes back to just showing that I have no skin in the game, and this is what I think needs to happen, and this is how I'm doing it. I'm making a difference, and I'm trying to make a difference more and more each day, with intention. And so, if there are manufacturers out there that are listening to this or watching this and want to be a part of that positive change, one, I'm sure it's going to make great PR for you. But two, it's like these problems are real and they're not going anywhere, and so we can keep ignoring them, and we can kind of shove them back in the closet and pretend like they don't exist, like some manufacturers are doing right now. Or we can accept that they're not going anywhere and that these things matter, and let's spend some time and money on fixing them from both sides of the fence, because it's not perfect. It's far from working right now, but it doesn't have to be, right? That's the thing. It doesn't have to be. Says who?
Well said. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, Roman, and connect with you, and I'm sure you're going to get people like, I need your help. So what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, so you could do my first name Roman at vrftechtraining.com, or you can do my first name and last name Roman.Baugh, Bagh, at Gmail. I've got like a million emails out there at this point. It's like 12 emails at this point that I'll kind of go to one place and funnel in. But there is a place on my website, that vrftechtraining.com, that you can actually fill out like an inquiry form of like what you need, who you are, what you need help in, and put all that stuff in there and submit it. And I get those and I go through them every day. So, if it's a software, if it's a question, if it's a concern, there's a reason that I built out the YouTube channel, and it's not because I want to be famous. I actually don't like the spotlight at all. I built the YouTube channel because I got so many questions about things that I was like, you know what, let me give it a home, like Substack. Let me give it a home where these references can live. And so now I can just send video links, and I'm like, hey, I covered that in this 10-minute video. Here's the link. Let me know if you have questions afterwards. And usually they don't. And sometimes they do. And then that just, tells me, well, I didn't cover it all in that video. Let me make another video. And so I think it's like, I don't know, like 90 videos now. I don't know, it's close to like 4,000 subscribers or something. I don't know. I don't track all that stuff. Who cares? It's more so just about, there's a free library of exploring and answering these questions. And if people do have questions and the videos don't live there, I love making videos for them to help them out, to where they can go back and watch it a million times, or about their specific problem. People send me data all the time. I got people from UK, Australia, South Africa. I think actually the people who visit my website the most are from Paris, France, and Germany right now. And so like, it's not just our market that has this problem. That's the thing. It's like, it's not just like Roman's viewpoint from contractor problems in Florida. No, this is a world problem. North America is in the spotlight. And so, if there's something we can do about it, we should do it now before it gets way worse, like it kind of already is. So I'll be the squeaky wheel. Sure.
You make a good squeaky wheel, and we appreciate that.
I have no problem making waves in the pool here. I'll be the guy that cannonballs in, no problem. I just want to see something positive come out of it. And if that's not through me, I'm 100% okay with that. You change it on your own. You guys have the talent, you have the knowledge, you have the masters and the MBAs and the doctorates, and you can afford the extremely expensive consultants that do this for a living. The solution is out there, and I don't need to be a part of it. I'm just not going to stop talking about it until something happens. So get comfortable, buckle up, take a seat, grab some popcorn. It's just going to keep going. It's that whole saying, the beatings will continue until morale improves.
Mhm.
The articles will continue until the industry changes.
That's awesome. We appreciate your knowledge. You guys, if you want to connect with Roman, like he said, shoot him an email. Otherwise, vrftraining.com or look up VRF Tech on YouTube, right?
Yeah, vrftechtraining.com. All the other cool names were taken. So,
Oh, okay.
but
Awesome.
yeah, you reach out. I'm on HVAC School. You can reach out to HVAC School directly. You can find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on social media. My emails, all that stuff is listed. I've written articles for you guys in NCI. It shouldn't be too difficult to just Google my name and find where I'm at. And even if it's just you messaging me on YouTube in a comment, right? My email's listed there too. I mean, at this point, I'm surprised my home address hasn't showed up somewhere on the internet. As much as all the other stuff is out there. So
Don't
just trying to
challenge
make
people.
just trying to make it easy for people to get help. That's it. Make it easy to get to somebody who can get you to the right person or get you the right answer. That's it. Doesn't have to be complicated.
Awesome. Thank you, Roman. I appreciate it. We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, no, I love talking about these things.
There's a lot more to be said.
There is, and there's a lot of things that are changing in our industry that aren't being covered or talked about because it's either taboo or, again, people don't want to rock the boat. No one wants to make their sponsors unhappy. I'm not looking for people to lose sponsors by talking about this, but at what point are we putting our head in the sand as an industry consistently for the sake of people making money? Because the people out there who don't have a voice, the one mom and pop shop with 1, 2 technicians, 3 technicians, 5 technicians, they don't have a voice in the industry. And I've worked hard to get to where I'm at now, to where I think their voice matters just as much as anybody else in that boardroom. And so, I'm going to try to give them as much support as I can, and yeah, give them that voice if I can. So,
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We will talk soon. Let's do this again.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving me the time.
See you guys on the next one.
Talk to you soon.